They were counted out before the playoffs even started, and somehow almost flipped the entire NBA upside down.
Haliburton to the rim! Topping one of the best in the open floor. The takeaway, Neesmith.
This is the story of a small market underdog, a breakout superstar, and a playoff run nobody saw coming. And here's where it actually begins. The Pacers weren't some powerhouse rolling into the postseason. They had a good year, solid, competitive, respectable, but nothing that screamed finals contender. No overwhelming dominance, no top-of-the-league fear factor, just a team that quietly handled its business and kept building. After the All-Star break, something shifted. The pace sharpened, the confidence grew louder. Tyrese Haliburton started looking less like an all-star and more like a future face of the league. But even then, outside Indiana, most people shrugged. Small market, limited spotlight, modest expectations. It had that old Hoosiers feel, the kind of team that plays harder than it talks. And when the playoffs tipped off, Vegas made one thing clear. They weren't supposed to be here. Indiana entered 17 of their 23 playoff games as underdogs. 17. That doubt didn't fade. It fueled them. What happens when a team embraces being overlooked instead of fighting it? That's where this run truly takes off. And now, first round versus the Bucks. This was the moment the Pacers announced they weren't just happy to be here. You could feel it in the air in Indianapolis, a kind of quiet belief mixed with a why not us energy. The Bucks were supposed to be the favorite. Giannis, Trent Jr., playoff vets, the whole package. But Indiana had other plans. Game after game in this series, it felt like Indiana kept answering back. Clawing, chipping, refusing to let the narrative settle. And then came Game 5, a night that won't fade from Pacers lore. Down late in overtime, the clock is bleeding seconds, and then it happened. Indiana ripped off 8 straight points in the final 40 seconds. Turnovers forced, shots falling, crowd screaming like the roof was lifting off Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Tyrese Haliburton, cool under pressure, like you almost forgot he's human, blew past Giannis with 1.3 seconds left and laid it in. A go-ahead bucket that wasn't just a shot, it was a statement. 119 to 118, series over. Pacers win 4-1. And in that moment, you sensed this wasn't just a series win. It was the ignition switch for something way bigger. Because this wasn't supposed to happen, but it just did.
Here we go! Haliburton. 5 seconds. 4 seconds. Haliburton for the lead. Pacers are moving on. What a comeback in overtime.
And here's where it gets really wild. The Pacers had already shocked the Bucks, but nobody expected them to punch up to the number 1 seed in the East and actually win. The Cavaliers were that team, the top dog, the one everyone figured would breeze through the second round. Cleveland was lethal all season and just swept Miami in the first round. A 64-win squad with stars everywhere. And yet, Indiana wasn't intimidated. Game 1 set the tone. The Pacers stole it in Cleveland, 121 to 112, surprising everyone and showing they weren't afraid to punch above their weight. Haliburton was brilliant, orchestrating the offense, finding teammates, and scoring key buckets. Even Pascal Siakam was a force, hitting shots and leading the physical side of the game. Game 2 turned into another classic. Down big early, Indiana clawed back, and Haliburton buried a game-winning 3 with 1.1 seconds left, giving them a stunning 2-0 series lead. Cleveland managed to win Game 3 behind a big night, but the Pacers weren't fazed. In Game 4, they lit the floor up.
Haliburton with a deep shot.
A 129 to 108 blowout, with Siakam and others carrying the scoring load. Then came Game 5. Back in Cleveland, Indiana closed it out 114 to 105, eliminating the top seed and sliding into the Eastern Conference Finals.
They do have a timeout. Carlisle's going to let him play. Haliburton steps back and hits. Indiana Pacers.
Haliburton scored 31, Siakam added his punch, and the Cavaliers were left staring. This wasn't luck. This was guts, timing, and belief. And then, the Eastern Conference Finals against the Knicks. This was supposed to be just another step. Instead, it turned into a defining chapter in Pacers history. From the very first game, Indiana brought that same unpredictable energy we'd seen all playoffs. But now it was magnified. The Knicks were tough, physical, and battle-tested. Yet, the Pacers, with that scrappy underdog fire, refused to back down. It became a chess match of grit, strategy, and pure willpower. Then came Game 4, the game that flipped the narrative and stuck in the memory of every NBA fan. Tyrese Haliburton didn't just play great. He made history. He poured in 32 points, dished out 15 assists, hauled down 12 rebounds, and didn't commit a single turnover, something no player in NBA playoff history had ever done at that level of production. Imagine that stat line: efficient, complete, untouchable, 0 turnovers. That's not luck. That's dominance wrapped in precision. The crowd at Gainbridge Fieldhouse felt it, a charged energy that crackled every time Haliburton touched the ball. Pascal Siakam wasn't just a supporting act. He poured in 30 points that night and showed up every game with physicality and calm aggression, reminding everyone this wasn't a one-man show. After a Game 5 slip, this team bounced back. Game 6 was the clincher, a 125-108 victory that sent Indiana to the NBA Finals for the first time since 2000.
It's not going to put anybody on the ball. They made that inbounds very easy. There comes Toppling, got it! Give him the ball. That's
exactly what he did. And Towns fired it, and the game is over.
Only the second time in franchise history, you felt it in the building. The disbelief, the joy, the validation. Underdogs? Not anymore. And then there was Tyrese Haliburton. Not just a piece of the puzzle. Not just the point guard drawing assists, but a force reshaping the entire narrative of these playoffs. From the first buzzer beater to the last clutch moment, Haliburton was the heartbeat of this run. No one expected this. Not casual fans, not the experts, not even some of his opponents. But time and time again, he showed up when it mattered most. The final minute, the tightest moments, the ones that make or break a season. In Game 1 of the finals alone, he buried a game-winning jumper with 0.3 seconds left to shock the Thunder and steal a road win. That shot didn't just win a game. It set a tone. And then came that historic Game 4 against the Knicks, a performance forever etched in playoff lore. Haliburton poured in 32 points, 15 assists, and 12 rebounds with 0 turnovers, something no player in NBA playoff history had ever done since turnovers were first tracked. It wasn't just efficient. It was masterful, chaotic in all the right ways, and deeply contagious. Legends noticed. Magic Johnson, one of the greatest playmakers ever, publicly praised what Haliburton did, spotlighting just how rare and impactful that night was. But here's the thing. This wasn't a one-man show. While Haliburton drew eyes and headlines, the rest of the roster believed in him and believed because of him. Pascal Siakam stepped up. Role players hit huge shots, and even bench contributors embodied that team identity. Haliburton didn't just score. He was involved, elevated, and inspired. This was a team built around a player who wasn't supposed to be the guy, but became the reason the Pacers dreamed bigger than anyone believed possible. And now, the moment everyone was waiting for, the NBA Finals against Oklahoma City. This was the heart of the Pacers story. A small market underdog meeting the league's best on the biggest stage. Game 1 started like a nightmare for Indiana. Oklahoma City jumped out early, forced turnovers, and looked every bit the favorite. But the Pacers, the team that defined their season by not giving up, kept chipping away. Down 15 in the fourth, they didn't fold. They clawed back. Then, with 0.3 seconds left, Tyrese Haliburton hit a jumper to put Indiana ahead for the first time all night and complete a stunning 111-110 comeback. It was one of those moments that feels bigger than a shot. It was defiance, belief, and identity all wrapped into one. But just like any great story, the beatdowns were part of the plot too. In Game 2, Thunder answered back hard. Oklahoma City took control early and never looked back, cruising to a 123-107 win to even the series and remind everyone they were still the team to beat. The pendulum swung again in Game 3. Back in Indiana, the Pacers came out with fire. Balanced scoring, gritty defense, and that relentless attitude we'd seen all playoffs helped them take the lead in the series with a 116-107 victory. A game where Haliburton flirted with another monster stat line and the bench made noise alike. Then, in Game 4, the Thunder regained the edge with a 111-104 win, once again making us feel like a tug-of-war instead of a march. The pattern was emerging. Blowouts, comebacks, dominance, resistance. Nothing easy. Everything chaotic. By Game 5, Oklahoma City flexed its depth and experience again with a 120-109 victory, putting Indiana on the brink. But no underdog tale is complete without one more twist. Game 6 was the twist. Under the bright lights in Indianapolis, the Pacers didn't just survive, they dominated. A 108-91 blowout sparked by noise, energy, and sheer determination forced a Game 7, proving this series wasn't decided by seed or reputation. It was earned possession by possession.
Neesmith the drive inside, blocked by Dort. Oh, what a rejection from Lou Dort. SGA drives, the finish, it's good.
This wasn't a smooth finals. It was a roller coaster, a clash of wills, a series where every game flipped the narrative, where mistakes were paid for, and where the Pacers showed over and over that they belonged on basketball's grandest stage. But then, Game 7 happened. The Pacers had clawed, fought, and earned their way to the biggest stage imaginable, only to have fate intervene most cruelly. Just over 5 minutes into the deciding game, Tyrese Haliburton went up for a drive, planted his foot, and immediately collapsed to the floor in agony. It wasn't just a stumble. It was something worse. His right Achilles tendon had torn, and the arena instantly fell silent. Teammates surrounded him, hearts sinking. Pacers coach Rick Carlisle summed up that moment with brutal honesty. All our hearts dropped after seeing what happened with Tyrese. The kind of words you only hear when something truly devastating unfolds. Up until that point, this series had been a roller coaster, full of drama, energy, and tension. But losing your best player in the biggest game of the year changed everything. Indiana managed to stay competitive early, even leading at halftime, but the Thunder pulled away in the second half and finished with a 103-91 Game 7 victory to capture the title. It wasn't just losing the game. It wasn't just losing the finals. It was the way it happened, at the hands of an injury that stole what felt like Indiana's best chance at a championship in decades. And listen, this isn't a one-man act. Even when Haliburton was at his peak, it was the collective effort that made this run unforgettable. Pascal Siakam stood like a rock night after night, delivering tough buckets and physical presence. The bench chipped in with timely scoring. Role players hit huge shots when the moment demanded it, whether it was defense, momentum-shifting hustle plays, or open threes. This was a team game. Not one star carrying a burden, but a squad that embodied trust and belief. Their chemistry wasn't built in a day. It was forged in fire. And that's what made this run feel real. Looking back, this 2025 Pacers run wasn't just impressive, it was rare. A small market team, fading under the radar all season, went toe-to-toe with the league's best and pushed them to the absolute limit. They reached the NBA Finals for only the second time in franchise history and came within a play or an injury of rewriting their story forever. It's a run that defies expectations and, even without a ring, will be remembered as one of the great underdog journeys in NBA history. Fans will talk about it for years, not just for how it ended, but for how they lived every moment. And if you thought that was wild, wait till you see what comes next. So what's your take on this incredible Pacers run? Heartbreak or triumph? Drop it in the comments, hit like, and subscribe, because I got even more NBA stories coming your way.